Wonderful. So everybody, thank you so much for coming. I will go ahead and share my screen with you. So we're really excited to have everybody here today. There's definitely a lot of awesome things to talk about. And I think right now with COVID, there's a lot that we need to address. And one of those things is how to build relationships. And I think one of the important things during COVID has been, have I been furloughed or I have extra time on my hands? How do I build my network? How do I build myself and my brand being remote and being at home? How do I do this if I'm sitting in the corner of my house with my laptop? How do I engage with people if I'm not face-to-face? And so in our last meetup about 2 months ago, that was one of the things that we had really chatted about in our community was how can we connect better? How do we do that virtually when some people have been furloughed or no longer have a position or they have extra time on their hands? Or some people who are extroverts like me, how do we make connections? So it looks like we still have some folks joining, so I'll wait a little bit to get started.
Yep, Shauna from the global team just jumped into the other Zoom link and she's gonna push anybody who made it into that one over to this Zoom link. So thank you everybody for just bearing with us while we kind of do the Zoom run around.
Wonderful. Well, I would love to, well, so far we have 33 people. Looks like we might have some folks coming in. So we'll go ahead and just wait around a little bit. In the meantime, maybe everybody can take a look at the brand primer if they have it. And Melissa, do you want to go ahead and let me know when you think we're ready to start?
I would give it maybe just one more minute and then we can go ahead and get started.
Perfect. And I'm going to.
Hi. Mm-hmm. No. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey, Mary, will you be able to put your call on mute? Or your microphone on mute? Thank you.
Well, I think we're probably good.
Yeah, okay, awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and get started then. All right, so thank you so much for coming. We're really excited. Hopefully more people can join us, and sorry for the complications. So yeah, this is a little virtual workshop on building your relationship and your brand using LinkedIn. So I would like to, so we sent a workshop primer. And with that, we want to be able to welcome everybody here. And we are recording tonight's event in case you want to refer back to it or anything that you will want to take notes on that you missed, you can have access to this recording. And if you want to remain anonymous, just use your first name and keep the video off. We totally understand if you just want to be private. So we respect that. So a little bit about our network. We are located in Richmond, Virginia, not Richmond, London, but we do have folks from London. One of our directors for Women Who Code is here with us tonight, so welcome, that's awesome. And our Richmond network, we have over 1,600 members growing. We have about 3 directors and 10 core team members. And we do meet monthly. I think with COVID right now, Women Who Code has had to move everything virtually. So our community has really had to adjust to these changes, but I think we're doing really well. We had some complications tonight, but I think this event will make up for it. So we have members from all across multiple companies. Here in Richmond, we do have Capital One, we have Aquint, we have Fahrenheit, We have Authentic. We have larger and small businesses. And of course, we do have some folks here that are not in Richmond that are outside. So that's great. We do a lot of hands-on learning, presentations, networking, coffee, donuts, socials, which is one that we have been doing pre-COVID. So hopefully we can go ahead and do those later when all of this is over. So our mission, we do inspire women to excel in technology careers. That is our bread and butter. That's our passion. It's what we do. And with that, we have our vision, and that is a world where women are representative as technical executives and vice presidents and board members and software engineers. So that's how we nurture our community and our women to be able to move up and give them the tools that they need to be successful. So our code of conduct is is always been here, and we are very much an inclusive community that is very dedicated, and we welcome everybody and anybody from any gender, race, and we do welcome men. So we do not shy away from just having women. We do welcome men and women into our community. So about our speakers tonight, Cami Little is a recruiter, and Beth is also a recruiter that I've known for a while. She's helped, both of them have helped me in my career searches, and they have placed me in positions, and sometimes they have taken me out of positions that were not a good fit for me, so they have seen me all over the place. And I was able to ask them to be with us tonight, and I'm really excited because they're both not just really good at what they do, but they really have a kind heart. And so I think they will be able to share with you a lot of really helpful tips. And then we've got Melissa, who is a senior software engineer at Capital One, and she's very much active in managing some teams at Capital One, and she is one of our directors at Women Code. Cami Little, Beth Cooper, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Cami. I work at Etain. Sarah had mentioned Fahrenheit earlier. We went through an acquisition earlier this year, so now we're the Etain group. But I've been in staffing and recruiting in the creative and digital space for about the last 7 years, and as Sarah mentioned, helped her with her search a few times. And Beth, I'll hand that over to you.
Hi, I'm Beth Cooper. I have also been in the recruiting world for, I guess, 6 years, so close to the same amount of time. And I am currently the internal recruiter for a digital marketing agency that's headquartered here in Richmond. But we have folks all over the world, actually, in several countries now. So we have about 90 internal folks, but I head up all of our recruiting efforts internally.
That's awesome. Melissa, do you want to go ahead and give your quick bio? I know I gave a little bit about you, but I would love to know, maybe you can give everybody in the group a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a senior software engineer, as Sarah mentioned earlier. I lead teams that work specifically on our digital online servicing application for Capital One. So if you're a card customer and you log in and you want to make a payment or just view your transactions, it's kind of the world in which I work on. And we have like a team of 6 people, so just leading them as well. And as far as like technical stuff, I don't know if we're going to really get into that, but the tech stack that I use is a TypeScript Angular front end and then Java backend. So, and we're all doing all sorts of microservices and things. Just really excited to see everybody. And like Sarah mentioned, like things have changed a little bit with COVID. And as far as our Richmond chapter, we haven't been meeting as often. So it's so great to see so many new faces, some of the folks that have joined us a couple of other times. And just wanted to say a giant thank you to everybody for being here tonight.
Yay, that's awesome. Great, wonderful. So let's go ahead. And so I want everybody to go ahead and visit capital POLL, capital EV.com/socialstar813. I had it generate a couple of different names. I was not going to put my last name in there because my last name is very complicated. So I want everybody to visit this page, and it'll kind of get us rolling, warmed up, and we can kind of interact that way, right? I want to do something more than just, do something over chat. So I think this will be fun. And I'll give you guys about, a minute or so to go ahead and visit the link. And if it's working for you, you might have to wait a little bit until I activate it. but I just want to make sure that everybody can see the link to be able to visit. You can open that in a new tab. So I think we're good. Everybody want to nod their head, and I can understand if everybody, yeah? Okay, I think we're good. We can move on. So I would like to know, where are you located? If anybody can just drop a pin, it'll give me an idea of where everybody is. Wow, this is fun. We have folks from all over the world. I love this. And if you're just now joining us, you can go ahead and visit this page here. I can go ahead. If any of you have the link and you want to share it in the chat, that would be great. It looks like the poll is full. We have a lot of people already here, but it gives us a little, wait, so we have somebody from Chile. That's where I'm from. I was born and raised there. I'm super excited. Super excited. Might have to speak some Spanish in here a little bit. All right, awesome. So we'll go ahead and move on. So it looks like we have folks from all over the world. I'm gonna go ahead and take a screenshot of this because this is a big deal. All right, so I would like to know what helped everybody get through this week. Now, these were my testing for, but I wanna go ahead and see how everybody's week was and what is one thing that has helped you get through this week. And if texting is easier for you, you can go ahead and do that. Are people able to? Coffee, yeah, that's me. Right here, right here. You see this is coffee. Reading, yoga, I would love to read more. Exercising, cream, wine, coffee, dog, love dog, hobby. I love this. Coffee, dog, seems like we have some dog lovers in here. Any cat lovers? Netflix, positivity, I need that. I love it. This is great. Family, chocolate, I see chocolate. I love it. I'm gonna go ahead and lock the response. If anybody else has anything else they would like to add, you can go ahead and add that. I'll give you a couple seconds. All right, so a dog, coffee, that seems like the pretty big common denominator in family. So I know there's a lot going on, and I hope everybody found something or some activity that was able to get them outside, relax them a bit more. I know sometimes it's really easy to get anxious. So we'll go ahead and move on, and thank you everybody for participating. So today's agenda, what are we going to talk about? The LinkedIn branding 101, do's and don'ts, right? How to build meaningful relationships, how to connect online, and how to have that business etiquette that you are looking for, perhaps something that you might be able to gain tonight. And yes, practice makes perfect. We will be doing a mini exercise today because after all, this is a networking event. And we'll have a Q&A at the end with Cami and Beth, and you can ask them anything. Not everything, but you know what I mean. Everything within this world that we're talking about tonight. And just for best practices, make sure that if you're keeping things muted and that you're good to go. Any questions that you may have would be great. We'll be able to get started now. And Seems like we're good. All right. All right, let's get going. So, overall, how do you feel about your personal brand? I want everybody to just go ahead and enter how they feel about their personal brand. And if you're just now joining us, please visit pollev.com, social star 813 to enter what your feelings are towards your personal brand, how you feel. Do you feel confident? Do you feel in the middle? Or are you just like, I have no idea and I need help? Which is totally fine. All right, awesome. Seems like we have some people in the middle, which is good. And hopefully we'll all be able to gain something from tonight. All right, your brand. All right, Cami, Beth, you want to go ahead and jump in and do your thing?
Yeah, sure. All right, so things we're going to cover on this part, it's about your personal brand on LinkedIn that you establish. It's relevant. How is it relevant to your professional career? It's one of the things that people remember you by. It's how they'll go search for you. It's sometimes the first impression your future company, coworkers, recruiters sees. So it definitely is a good thing to lead your best foot forward with your profile.
Beth, do you want to go ahead and add something?
Sure. Sorry, I was trying to take myself off of mute. Just to add to what Cami was saying, I would say that establishing an online presence is one of the most important things that you can do as a professional these days. Obviously, with our current situation being in lockdown, or most of us being in lockdown because of COVID, everything is being done online. But really, it seems that there's a lot of networking that's happening, even in normal situations online these days. So establishing an online persona in your brand is very important when looking for a job or just trying to professionally connect with others as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think building your brand, it's really the first thing that people see when they go online. It's in a way, it's kind of sad. I know a lot of people who are like, well, I don't want people judging me by my picture and I don't want people judging me by my description. But the reality is that's just the kind of world that we live in, especially now. If you're looking for a position or you're open to opportunities or open to connect, this is the first place that people go to see you. So it is your first impression. I think we really have to now start to be pretty agile in terms of adapting of how we present ourselves. Before it was happy hour in person or for coffee. Now everything is virtual. So yeah, it's really important. So we already talked about this is a little bit of what I added in the primer, and we just want to run through it really quickly, just in case you were not able to take a look at it, just because I know that things happen last minute with work and you're just driving home or you have kids and you're multitasking and you don't get to things on time. We're just going to give you a quick run through so you don't feel like you're missing out and you're prepared. So Cami, do you want to go ahead and get us started with the adding a new profile picture?
Yeah, and Sarah had sent through some great tips on this earlier on how to upload your picture. So if you didn't see that, definitely go check. Having a picture is really important. When you meet someone face to face, that's how you remember them. So it just adds that extra personal touch to like put a face to a name. That's a huge part of it. And then I agree with the next part about banners. And I know sometimes if you work for a company, they have banners they want you to put up. So I think Capital One may have some specific banners. I know Etain has banners that fall under our verticals that we use. So use those to affiliate best with your company. Or if you have your own company, you're a contractor, that can really help with your brand too. And Sarah had linked there Unsplash to find some good pictures.
Yeah, Unsplash is great. I always tell people to go there all the time. I have a younger sibling who just graduated from university, and he had a wonderful picture but not a good banner, and I'm like, what are you passionate about? well, this is what I'm passionate about, but it's like, well, maybe add something else that you love or your hobby, because in every little image, there is a small piece and component that you can give away about yourself. And I think that's really important. And Beth, I know you had some really good stuff to share with the description portion.
Yes. So your description is one of the first things that people see when they click on your profile. So it is really your first chance to kind of humanize yourself, like the description says. So just writing things about yourself that make you a unique individual is very helpful for people to start getting to know you as they're looking at your site. And we will, I know I will probably touch on this a little bit more later on, but if you do have a portfolio or a personal website, it's a great idea to either add that into your description section, or we'll also talk a little bit more about another place you can add that later on too. But if you have any personal sites or links to any projects that you've done that you're proud of, those are great to put in the description as well.
Awesome. Yeah, totally agree. I think I've rewritten my description a million times. It's like a never ending thing. Okay, so number 2, we're jumping into, from a recruiter's point of view, this is what I know a lot of people and a lot of you want to see, and I want to see because I do not know what it looks like from a recruiter's point of view. Like, where do they look at? How do they see things? How do they know that I am looking to relocate somewhere else? I mean, they happen to know all these details. Well, Cami and Beth will give you a little bit of that insight, and they'll kind of show you that from a recruiter point of view. So Cami, you can go ahead and start.
Yeah, okay, so we recruiters, or companies or independent recruiters can pay to use the LinkedIn recruiter tool. And so that's how we're able to see all of this. I took some screenshots and like blinded out names and pictures, so everything's private for people's contact information. But I thought it would be really helpful to see all of the ways that recruiters can run searches, manipulate searches, and how people that are looking for jobs or not looking for jobs can either maximize or minimize their outcome and search results. So Sarah, if you want to jump to the next one, we can just kind of start to run through it. So this is what it looks like. This would be just running a search on LinkedIn for people that had current or past job titles for web developer, front-end developer, or developer that specifically had Kendo listed as a keyword, so that had worked with that tool. You see on the top banner part, it says there are 192 total candidates, 64 more likely to respond, 44 open to new opportunities, and 2 have company connections. So those are tabs that we can toggle between to run our search more in depth. If we have a position that it needs to fill quickly, we'll generally start with looking at people that have already posted that they're open to new opportunities. So you can see my beautiful paint job, the underlined pink part on the right-hand side, open to new opportunities, reflects there. So you just get a quick snapshot of people's job description, where they work, their tenure, education level, and knowing if they're looking or not. And then Sarah, if you want to skip over to the next one, I can go just like do a deeper dive into all of this. Okay, so this is the same search, and I just was going to run like top to bottom and show you how it can be manipulated, so you guys are conscious about that if you're trying to maximize your results for job searching. So job titles are something that recruiters can search by. So I know some people have like digital ninja as their job title, and that's super awesome, and that's part of the thing that humanizes people, but it also makes you less likely to be found in a job search. So using titles that are common, and you can see how senior software engineer is highlighted underneath of that, that is the next suggestion that LinkedIn is prompting us to click on based on the job titles that we have entered. So if we click senior software engineer, like application developer could come up, and you can continue to add jobs that way. So you can search current or past. You can search only current job titles. You can search only past job titles. Moving down to location, you can search if people are in a current city right now. So if I wanted to find people that are only in New York, I would include on the bottom, I would include current. If I were looking for people that maybe don't live in New York yet, but everyone wants to move to New York. So I'd put current or open to relocate. I would open up my candidate pool that way to see, you know, let's see on here. The second candidate lives in San Jose, California, but they're open to moving to New York. That wouldn't have come up in my search if I hadn't included that. The next level down is skills. That's something Beth will touch on later. But that's something that LinkedIn prompts you to do when you're entering your profile, is to add skills. You can see that LinkedIn's also pre-populating skills that it thinks this candidate should have based on the job titles. So it's trying to get me to click on CSS. You know, you can build on that from there, JavaScript, API, etc. Then we have companies. This is when it starts to really get fun. So you can search people specifically, like Capital One has such a great reputation in Richmond. Everyone wants to hire somebody that's been at Capital One. You can search people that have worked at Capital One before. So I would be running a past, not current search. So I'd be looking for people who have previously worked at Capital One that are not currently there, that may be interested in going back. So making sure you're keeping your LinkedIn up to date is important. That way if people are searching that way or impressed with the company you're at, you would pull in this search. Employment type is also important. People take this really seriously when you're job hunting. Some people only want full-time work. Some people are open to doing contracts. Some people want some freelance work. So adding as many or as few as that are applicable for your search is important. If you say you're interested in freelance work, you're going to get a lot of messages. If you say you're interested in contract work, you'll probably get more. If you say you're interested in full-time work, that'll probably limit the amount of contact you'll get. Under that is years of graduation. If you were to click on that, it would show you a sliding scale of the first person in your search who graduated the longest ago all the way up to the current date. And you can do a sliding scale. So say you're looking for a really junior developer, you could search people that have graduated from 2019 to present. Or if you're looking for a really senior person, you can search more back in the past. Schools, I went to JMU, so I always love to first run a search for anyone that went to JMU because I love Dukes. But I know other hiring managers are that way too. They have an affinity for where they went to school. That is something people will use to look at. Industry, I'd say, is one of the least searched things. I don't know, Beth, if you've used that before. I normally leave that out. I think everything else kind of covers the industry you're in. It's pretty clear that you're in tech. But keywords, again, I think it's really important, and this is something Beth is going to touch on a lot in the next slide. But this is where you will really maximize your input and what you can get out of LinkedIn, specifically in your job search, is just making sure you are putting relevant words into your profile that will pull in a job search. So Beth, I'll let you'll take that one from there.
Okay. So this slide is a screenshot of an example of someone who, from a recruiter's point of view, does not look to be open to new opportunities. So it looks very similar to a regular LinkedIn profile with a couple of added differences that we'll touch on briefly. So the recruiting activity tab is probably the biggest difference here. So if you, basically any recruiter, no matter if you work for a staffing agency or a consulting agency or internally, we all have what's called an applicant tracking system, which I'm sure everyone has at least heard of. But that's basically if you apply for a job on a website or on LinkedIn, anywhere you can find a job application, those will all track to an internal applicant tracking system. So a lot of times our tracking system will be integrated with LinkedIn Recruiter. So if I personally look at someone's LinkedIn and they have applied to our company in the past, it'll tell me exactly when they applied and which jobs they applied for. So that will come up in the recruiting activity. If I personally have ever messaged this person before, or if they have messaged anyone else in my company who also has a LinkedIn Recruiter seat, those will also show up in that recruiting activity tab. So sometimes that's helpful if one of your coworkers has talked to someone in the past. You can go chat with them about that person and see what information you can grab there. So that's very helpful to us. And then also, like I mentioned before, you can see that there is a tab for your portfolio page. So we will talk about how to integrate all that information that will speak to recruiters in a couple of slides, but a recruiter would be able to just click on that and it would take them directly to your portfolio page. And then also we have circled here a couple of links to specific projects that this person was proud of and wanted to showcase in their summary, like we mentioned before. I think we can move on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think showcasing your portfolio or any work that you have is really important. I never thought people would check my portfolio website when I had it on, and a lot of people did. So I was very much surprised. But you advise, Beth, to always keep it at the top, right? Never at the bottom.
I would always put it near the top because kind of depending on what you do, like if I am searching for, I look for a lot of UX designers or web designers and people who usually do have a portfolio of their past work. Usually that tied with their LinkedIn page is the first thing that I'm looking for. So it's very helpful for that information to be at the top.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you for that.
No problem. So then kind of along the same vein, this is an example of someone who is open to new opportunities. So all of the information that they have entered here will pull in a recruiter search. So the page that Kami was showing you before is where all of these keywords kind of help you to pop up on those pages. So right under recruiting activity, the open to new opportunities, there you'll see that they have entered several different job titles of roles that they would be open to, which is very important in technology because if you were to enter one and not enter another, a good recruiter will run several searches that will hopefully pull up all of those terms. But if they do happen to miss one of those terms, you could be missing out on getting yourself on that list. So when you are adding these things to your profile, if you are looking for a role or you're open to new roles, it's definitely important to put as many in as you are comfortable with. So that also goes along the same lines for the locations. So I know Kami mentioned that you can have locations that you're currently located in, and then also locations that you would be open to moving to. So all of those will pull in a recruiter search for folks as well. So adding as much information there, that's kind of like a general theme that we're going to be talking about a lot today, but adding as much information as possible is very helpful in searches. And I know she also mentioned this bottom one, which is the job type. So if you are looking for new roles and you're open to different types of roles like contract or part-time, I think remote is even an option that you can add in there too. So make sure to toggle all of the ones that you're interested in. So the biggest thing on this slide that is kind of missing is context under each individual role on what exactly you did in that job. So that is very helpful. I know at the bottom of, thank you, Sarah, I was about to ask for that. So your skills and experience section is very helpful, but that's kind of just a general list of things that you have touched on in the past. So from a recruiter's perspective, it is much more helpful if you actually list some of the specific things that you have done in each role under that job title. So a little bit about the team that you were on and the specific tools and technologies that you were using in that role, because a lot of times we are looking for specific technologies for a role. So obviously we'll dig deeper when we reach out to you into what exactly you did with those. but it's always helpful to have those that you've used most frequently at the top under those jobs. So this skills and expertise level, all of those will, those are also keywords, so they will pull in any type of search that's being run, but my opinion is that it's better when you kind of break them out and talk about what exactly you did with them. You're on mute, Sarah.
Oh, I'm back. So do have one question. And Kemi did respond, but I think it limits the number of job titles you can add. Do you recommend going more broad or more specific?
Yeah, I was saying for future job titles, I would be more specific. You would rather have more targeted messages or reach outs to you. I just think that would make it so you're really getting focused in on the type of work that you would want to do. And when I showed that first screenshot of job titles, that is pulling current or past job titles. So it wouldn't pull what you're populating in there for a desired future role. That would just be context for someone to have that's looking at your background to know what you want to do go forward. So that wouldn't limit you in your searches. That would just limit what people may reach out to you for.
Wonderful. That is really well explained. Thank you. Okay. So an example of giving the right information if you're job searching. Beth, I know you have this one.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the things that we touched on the previous slides are included here too. So that there's a good example of under the recruiting activity tab that somebody sent a message and it'll tell you if the person has responded or not. And then more along the roles and locations and job types. And this is a good example of somebody who has done what I said and kind of broken down and given more context and written more about what they've actually done at each individual role.
Yeah, and you can see the yellow that pops up. So product designer was one of the things I was searching for at that point. So product designer was part of their job title, but it also was in their summary. So if their job title was senior designer instead of senior product designer, but they also said that they worked as a senior product designer for Intuit, that would still pull them. So the more context and content that you have in there, the more it's going to generate results.
It's almost like your own personal SEO.
Yes.
Really,
Yeah, no, it really is.
It really is. Like, that's how I think about it. Now that you've really just explained how you have to elaborate more, it's almost like your personal SEO. It's really interesting. Okay, so we'll move on to the next. So the big do's and don'ts of LinkedIn. This is one that Cami and Beth and we've talked about because I do have some of my do's and don'ts. So I'm excited to kind of jump into this one. So build your network organically. This is a big one, I think. When I first met Michelle Matthews, she's not here with us today, but she's a director at Capital One, and she oversees, I think it's over 20 teams. Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's a doer, and she's been at it for a long time. And there's one thing that I learned from her the first time that I met her, and she said, I do not add anybody that I do not know on LinkedIn, unless they send me a message saying how they know me, because then it reminds me of who they are and how I know them. And so the minute she said that to me about 3 years ago, when I used to work at Veracity and we had a coffee and donut social, that really stuck with me. And I never once again added people on LinkedIn to add them. And that's just because I want to feel like my network is growing organically and I can keep track of people. If you just add people to just add people, then you're just going to forget, and you're going to feel like every time you go in your LinkedIn, it's going to be like a giant big spam folder, and that's not what you want. And I think if you just allow people to just grow organically and you meet them through this network or anywhere else, then it'll eventually maybe lead you to relationships, to friends, and to different opportunities. And so one thing that she did hone on when we first met was provide a motive and write about something that you have in common. That's something that I usually do when I add somebody and I'm trying to connect with them. I think with COVID, a lot of us have had to figure out how to connect with people virtually and find it more personable. And so I think adding a note saying, hey, I met at the networking event and I really enjoyed our conversation over Tesla motor cars or over our favorite book that we have in common, anything that like will trigger that common denominator between you and the other person, I think will allow them to remember you and add you. And I think being active and engaging, if you have 5 minutes a day to look at Instagram, I would recommend looking on LinkedIn, because at the end of the day, that will help your career. Cami, you got something there? I see you laughing a little bit.
Yeah, no, I thought that was great.
Cami's known me for a little bit while. And make your profile picture current. I sometimes meet people that I'm like, oh, I'm meeting them at this networking event, and they reached out to me and I'm really excited and I cannot find them. And that's because their picture is old. And just, get your sister or brother to take a picture of you against the white wall. It really just takes 5 seconds. Our iPhones are so well equipped right now with tools that can allow us to do the things that we can do now, such as portrait mode. And do always reply back to messages. And that's something that Cami and Beth can hone on more, because, they're always reaching out and engaging with people. So you guys can chime in on this one.
Yeah, I would say I am not always the best at answering messages from recruiters because, believe it or not, recruiters do get recruited. So it does take a couple minutes, but I think especially in the technology world here in Richmond, but just really anywhere, the world can be a small place, and you never know when you're going to go to a networking event and run into someone. So it's always great to just take a few minutes and respond. Even if you're not interested right now, you never know if you'll be interested in that company or a company that person works for down the road later on. So just making a connection and quickly taking the time to say, like, hey, it's not the right time for me right now, but maybe later on down the road, just kind of keeps that pathway open for further conversation.
And I'm going to piggyback on Beth. I should have thought about putting an example of this in here, but if you ever get an in-mail from a recruiter or anyone, if you decline that, they're unable to contact you again in the future. So if right now, like Beth said, if right now you're happy where you are and you're not looking, you never know, that could change 6 months from now. And so someone at Capital One or SunTrust or Bank of wherever, they couldn't reach back out to you to see if you've changed your mind, or maybe this other role's a better fit and it's exactly what you're looking for. You'd close that door. So I definitely agree with Beth. Just reply back and be, hey, I'm happy where I am now, but would love to stay in touch for the future. That leaves the door open for you.
I couldn't agree more. I had somebody reach out to me today, and think I added this person 2 years ago because I knew it through somebody else, and he sent me a message explaining who he was. This was 2 years ago, and then he sent me a message today asking me if I was looking for work, and we just scheduled a virtual call, and I'm really excited to catch up with this person, to just chat and catch up. And I have those messages that refer me and keep me updated as to like our history of conversation. So it's really helpful to kind of have that that history and log of how you kind of communicated with people in the past. So
and I see some questions here, Sarah.
Yeah.
So Sanchi, I would say I don't think you have to respond to all "hi, how are you" messages. Yeah. Especially if they're a random person and you don't know them and they're not reaching out to you for a reason. I don't think that's necessarily like business targeted. If someone's contacting you for like an actual reason to make a connection that is pointed, I would respond to them, but that opens the door for some interesting stuff there. And then Alicia, for recruiters that contact you for jobs that are nothing close to what you do.
That happens a lot. How do you address that?
Well, I would politely decline them, just say you're not interested, but also maybe make a note that they're not the person you'd want to work with go forward if they can't figure out what you do. I think that there are a lot of recruiters that are new and just starting out, and Java is in JavaScript. It's part of the word. So that's the keyword search thing that happens there. That's why that would pull up. But you'd want to find someone that understands what you're doing to partner with and trust your job search with. So I would respond and let them know you're not interested, Alicia, but I also wouldn't plan on working with them in the future.
Right. That's a really good point to kind of piggyback off of that. That's the perfect time to bring that up because you can pretty much tell in somebody's message. If they're a good recruiter, you're going to be able to tell in their first message to you that they understand what you do. So you can kind of pick and choose there, and you don't have to, stay connected with every recruiter that ever reaches out to you. But yeah, I would say if you want to politely say that that's not what you do, then totally up to you. But otherwise, just know that that's not somebody that you would want to be working with in the future.
And yeah, we were definitely going to elaborate a bit more on commenting. This is something that Cami had mentioned when we were chatting about the do's. And part of engaging on LinkedIn, and that we've noticed, and Cami said this big thing, she's like, a lot of people don't realize that when you like or you comment something, that whole post shows up on somebody else's newsfeed. So it triggers. So if you like an event, then your friend will see that you just liked Shanti's event, and that person, your friend may not know Shanti, but knows you. So it shows up on your newsfeed. And so this is a big one because this can kind of go back into looking at your newsfeed and your profile. So if you are looking for a job or you're looking to make a connection with somebody, this can really could trigger a little bit of a negative response if you liked something that was political or a comment that was from some affiliation. So you really have to be careful with what you're commenting. Everything should be very neutral. I try to keep mine neutral. And always comment on positive things and things that grow my network and my friends. So always just be mindful. Hopefully that addressed your question, Suze. And then Irina, to everyone, what would you suggest for someone that is looking to change roles in the future? How would you update your LinkedIn profile to show you are looking to learn new skills and show the new roles you're interested in? Cami, Beth, do you want to take that one on?
Yeah.
Sure.
Go for it, Beth.
I was just going to say, I was going to point back to something that Cami spoke about earlier. So in the screenshot that had the, I think it was product manager had shown up in their summary, like Cami mentioned, that would show up in a search for someone who is looking for someone in that similar range. So my advice, I guess, would be to add the skills and the roles that you're interested in somewhere on your profile, because they will still track for recruiters to be able to reach out to you to chat a little bit more about that. So I would say just always be honest about how much experience you have with those things, because that is kind of if the recruiter is reaching out to you to chat more about your experience with certain technologies or tools, that would be the time to chat about things that you're interested in learning more about.
Yeah, and I think that's a great opportunity there, Irina, to maximize your summary. Like that's your purpose in that point. So this is my background, but this is what I want my future to be. And that's your platform right there to put that out there. And like Beth said, you'll have the keywords that will pull you in searches for future positions that match that, but that gives context as well to why you're coming up in that search and what you want to do in your next role.
I'm taking note of that. That's a big one if everybody's taking note. So past, current, and future, so that way all those keywords pull up together. Now, one question that I had when I was first a junior, learning how to code 4 years ago, and I know some folks here may have the same question. What happens if you're a junior and you're doing JavaScript, HTML, CSS, React, but you're not an expert, and you have people reach out to you for senior roles, even though you're clearly a junior role? How do you address that without like lying? Because you don't want to lie that you're a senior or an expert. How do you address that?
Well, you're not going to want to get yourself into a senior role if you're junior, because you'll be getting yourself in over your head, and the hiring managers that you're talking to after the recruiter will be able to sniff that out if the recruiter couldn't. So I would say just always be honest about your level of experience with anything. I think that is the perfect opportunity when you get on the phone with a recruiter or you're emailing or messaging back and forth with them to chat about those things and just be honest that one day you want to be at that level, but you aren't yet. So that will make it more likely that that recruiter reaches back out to you when they have something that aligns better with your level of experience.
Awesome. I think this is great. Thank you. All right, so don't have an old picture of you. Definitely use another one. We kind of addressed that already. Don't ignore people you know and don't know. It's always good to reply back. Be kind. You never know what my things lead you. And like I said earlier, it's always helpful to keep track of those previous conversations. And Beth and Cami, I know this third point here, you guys really honed on it when we had our conversations to prep for this call. So if you can go ahead and elaborate on that.
Yeah, this goes back to the news feed portion. LinkedIn isn't Facebook. Not everyone treats it that way, but there is a part of your LinkedIn profile where people can go and view your past activity. If you like some really weird picture or post or article, your future employer can go back and just like quickly glance through your activity history and see what you've liked. Ideally, you're liking or commenting on content that is relevant to your professional career, and they see that you're engaged in the community and in like an intellectual dialect in that sense. So that's really what you want to be mindful about when you're using LinkedIn. Messaging people, like commenting congrats on the new job, that's awesome, that's great, you should definitely do that. But if someone in your network posts an article that's relevant to your industry, read it, comment on it, engage in that dialogue, but make sure you keep it relevant because people can go through and see there. And Abby, yes, there is a way you can go back and clean it up.
That's a great question.
I wonder, is there a way we can share information after this? I could share a screenshot of where to look to do that. But on your LinkedIn page, in your edit button, you'll see activity and history. You can go in and edit that. But it's just on your main LinkedIn site. Under your profile, like if you were to view yourself, that's where you would go in and find it.
Yep. And yeah, well, definitely it's pretty easy to use. As long as you go under your profile and you do edit, you'll be able to hit that. And we can send some notes out after this workshop to kind of review everything that we've gone over. And any emails or questions, go ahead and post them here so we can keep those in mind as we move forward. And we are running close to 7 o'clock, so I want to make sure we have enough time to address all of your questions because we do have a Q&A portion at the end. So resume tips and feedback. If you are job searching, Cami and Beth, really big one on this is add extra information. The more, the better, right? And linking resume or any kind of portfolio is really helpful. I personally used to get very confused with how do I differentiate my resume with my LinkedIn? And Cami this morning had talked about how it never hurts to have too much information, especially if you're really ready to open to get back into the job market, then the more the merrier. And definitely be conscious of contact information, especially if you're uploading your resume to LinkedIn. You don't want to put your personal number, your address, because you don't want people looking you up on Zillow or texting you or just randomly calling you, and you're just going to be like, who's this? So Cami and Beth, can you guys elaborate a bit more on this question of should your resume on LinkedIn be the same? I know some people get confused as to how much information to put on LinkedIn and should that be different than what's on your resume?
Yeah, I would say that you hit the nail on the head there with saying that depending on whether you are open to new roles or not, you can kind of gauge how much you want to share on your LinkedIn, but I totally agree. I think the more information, the better, just because any information that you would want for a hiring manager or a recruiter to see on your LinkedIn page as they're running a search, when you pop up anything you'd like to show up under your name is great to add. And then I will say, if you are adding your resume to your LinkedIn page, again, this kind of depends on your level of comfort with this, but I probably wouldn't add my home address, but if you do want to add a phone number, I know some people use like Google Voice numbers as well if you don't want to put your cell phone number on there, but having a phone number is actually really helpful for recruiters to be able to get in touch with you. So sometimes they could send you a message and you don't see it, so that's an easier way for them to get in touch with you.
Yeah, and I would think about if you are listing that you're open to new opportunities on LinkedIn, like if you're pushing that button to let the world know, or let recruiters know at least, that that's the case, then I would view that as basically putting yourself on a job board, and would then encourage you, like Beth said, to put your contact information on your resume, because you are letting people know that you want to be contacted. So if you don't check LinkedIn often, that's a great way for people to be able to email or give you a call about a job, especially if it's a time sensitive one. And then add, sorry, what'd you say?
I know it's very true. I think when you're looking and you're ready and to let the world know, to definitely put your number out there. And if you're not actively looking, but you still want your resume, then you can always edit your resume and take down your personal phone number. And we do have a really good question, Cami. Is I've heard that recruiters spend an average of 6 seconds looking at your resume on LinkedIn profile. If we put lots of info on, how much will they realistically look at in those 6 seconds? I thought it was usually about 20 seconds, or is it 6 seconds? What do you think? Beth, please give us information.
I think it's more than 6 seconds.
Yeah, give us a juicy scoop. What is it?
I think there is like the typical headline scan. And I mean, imagine like looking at a bunch of news articles, you're going to gravitate to the parts that capture the most information. So it would be in that sense, like a headline would be a job, a company, a job title, tenure, and then the keywords that jump out at you. Those would be the things that would get the first glance. I hate that reputation though. I don't think it's true, but
I know. You sometimes do think that recruiters are a person just like you, and not just somebody who just,
I know. I also would say to add on to the LinkedIn versus resume though, I agree that there should be as much information as possible, but I think that your LinkedIn should be more targeted to your job duties and responsibilities, and your resume should be more achievement focused. Because if someone's getting to the point where they're going to review your resume and you're engaged at that level, you want to show your accomplishments and your achievements. So you want that like quantitative aspect to your background, as well as the supplement of like your job duties and like what your responsibilities are on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and Suze, that was a great question. And Matthew is it worth to join LinkedIn Premium? I've joined LinkedIn Premium for free for 1 month, and I found it to be really helpful when I was looking. It gave me a lot of extra tips, and you get to see a lot of things that you otherwise would not see. So it's kind of fun. But is it worth it? What do you guys think? I mean, it's about what, $30 a month or $36 a month? Beth, what do you think?
I've had a recruiter seat on LinkedIn for so long that I don't even really remember all that much about LinkedIn Premium. I don't know if Cami has more information, but.
No, I mean, I think if you're using LinkedIn to connect with people that you know or have met or in your like social circle or business circle, those would all be like second degree connections to you, where you really run out, or where LinkedIn Premium is helpful is if you're running into searches where you're trying to find people that are third degree connections, and that's when it'll limit you. You can browse as many job postings as you want on LinkedIn. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's up to you. It's based on whatever purpose you're looking for. If you're really like looking to connect with a lot of different people, then yeah, I think that'd be great. But if it's just everyday use and regular networking, I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, that's very true, because on Premium, I believe you look people up and you get like third to fourth connections that you usually wouldn't get. So if you're looking to just for people and to really connect and I think build your network, then maybe, or you could do the free trial. Just make sure you don't get charged by LinkedIn like I did. Okay, awesome. So yeah, in the tech industry, and I think Cami and Beth have honing this, no problem, Matthew, happy to answer your question. In the tech industry, the more upfront information, the better. So, impacted by COVID. This is a big one. We've all been impacted by COVID, whether it is furloughed, whether it's getting let go, whether it's looking for a job or whether it's companies no longer going into the office. We've all been affected by it. And I think it's really important that we just address this and kind of get Beth and Cammie's input on this. So yeah, you guys can go ahead and take this.
You want to go, Beth? Me? I'll go. Well, I think, Sarah, we have another slide after this that shows more about what we were going to talk about.
Yes.
But yeah, I think there are people, especially in the last couple months, we've run into this where we have clients that are hiring and the hiring manager is like, hey, if you have anyone that's been laid off or impacted by COVID, make sure you let me know that when I see their resume, because I really want to be helping those people out. So there are people that are prioritizing helping people get back to work that have been impacted by layoffs. I wouldn't be embarrassed or upset or like try and hide the fact that that's happened. It has happened to so many people in huge industries. Like think about Uber and Airbnb and like large like Silicon Valley companies that have had massive layoffs. And those are talented people that are looking to get back to work. And there are people that are putting it as their headline on LinkedIn now that are saying like COVID-19 layoff impacted job searching.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and show you guys on the next slide. But that's something that I wanted to just quickly mention is Cammie and Beth were really nice to provide everybody feedback on their resume. This is a quick gut check. So you can send them your resume and they will provide you a quick review based on their first glance. So it will not be 6 seconds, but it'll be like whatever their first glance is, whatever their gut check is, but they will not be editing your resume. So if you want to send it to them, they're happy to provide a brief feedback, but I just wanted to, thank Cammie and Beth for volunteering to do this. But like I said, just want to mention it again, they're not going to be editing your resume, just quick gut check. I stumbled upon my words there. Okay, so this is a slide that Cammie and Beth wanted to chat about, which is about the headline.
Sure. Well, yeah, this is just showing what I mentioned earlier. People putting their headline as the fact that they were updated by layoffs. They're actively job searching, and then their desired job title. So all of that, again, the more data in, the more you get else to try and find people that have been laid off and impacted. That's actually how I found her profile. Was I was looking for engineers that had been impacted by COVID, and that's how she got pulled into my search. But if you go to the next slide, Sarah, it'll show where you would go to edit that. So sure. That is her headline. That is not her job title. So headline is different than what her job title was. It was software engineer at ADP. That wasn't impacted. Actually, could you jump back real quick, Sarah?
Of course.
So having that as her headline didn't impact what her current job title is or company. It still says software engineer at ADP. So then, okay, sorry, Sarah, let's skip ahead too.
No, you're fine. This is good. This is good.
One more. There we go. So that's her headline. So like my headline is Etain Group. Where you would edit that would be on your profile section, under your pencil at the top, your headline. So that wouldn't change anything else in the body of your profile. It would just change that one thing under your name. So if you're actively on the job search, you're not afraid for everybody to know it, you can put it on your headline. Or that's where some people would put like Coding Ninja or something funny like that.
Yeah.
But headlines are also a great place to emphasize your personal brand.
Awesome. Yeah, and another thing that we did talk about earlier was how a lot of recruiters are adding in their headline looking to help candidates who have been furloughed. So a lot of recruiters are actually volunteering their time to just help people out with their resumes. So look for those, search for those recruiters who are actively helping people to not just find jobs, but just help them with their brand and their resume. And they can probably also give you their gut check on your resume. So thank you, Cammie and Beth.
Oh, wait, Sarah, before you move, sorry. On the left-hand side, you see where it says show recruiters you're open to work. If you hit that get started button on your profile, so if you viewed yourself on LinkedIn, that box right there is where you would go to turn on the button that shows that you're open to new opportunities. So that's how you would essentially become part of the job board on LinkedIn and post your information. So if you are looking for a job, or if you're curious and just want to learn more about what's out there, if you turn that on, you will get more messages. Something that's good to know, no one in your network would be able to see that you're open to new opportunities. So if you worked at Capital One recruiters or HR talent people are unable to see that because you share the same network. So only people outside of your network that pay for LinkedIn Recruiter would be able to see that you're open to new opportunities.
But what happens if the recruiter at Capital One hypothetically had premium? Are they still able to see that you're open to an opportunity?
Nope.
No,
It
they're
has
part
to
of
be
that
LinkedIn
Capital
Recruiter.
One. Yeah. That's a question that I get all the time, because I feel like people don't know that their boss or somebody on their team can't see that they had toggled that button to say that they're open to new opportunities. So it's a safe bet.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. It's one of those complicated things that we have to kind of be careful and keep things on the low when you're looking. So some of these Q&A questions are great. We're going to leave them for the end, but I wanted to go ahead and we're in a networking session, so let's just go ahead and I said 8 minutes here, but we're kind of running out of time. So I want to make sure that you can gotta get your own connections while you're in here. So Melissa, can you help me out, break everybody into, I don't know, 2 to 3 groups, and we'll spend about 2 to 3 minutes adding each other on LinkedIn. And I do already have a personalized note ready to go for everybody to just copy paste so they can add people on LinkedIn during the session. So everybody look at the everyone chat, and you'll be able to see that I'm posting a link. Melissa, are you ready to open us up for a chat room?
I think VG, you might have to do it.
Gigi, are you ready to do that for us?
Sure. Yeah. How many do you want me to open up?
I think 3 people, so we can quickly add each other. So I sent everybody a Google Doc. You can go ahead and open that Google Doc, and you can copy paste and put that as you're adding those folks that you've just met. So 2, 3 folks in your team, and you can send that as your message, fill it in, customize it, whatever you may need. And we'll be back together in this room in about 3 minutes.
Sarah, can you hear me? I made you the host. I'm trying to see how to set up a breakout room. I've not done that before.
It should be within the meeting tab, but I don't know, potentially since we're using the Veracity Zoom, maybe we can't do that on there.
I don't think we can.
Yeah, because there should be like a setting that just says like turn on breakout rooms.
Is there no setting? Oh gosh.
I don't
know. Are we having some technical
I know. I think that might be a different type of membership.
Yeah.
Could be. Okay, well, everybody can just grab a person's name. If anybody wants to put their full name on the chat, exactly, do the LinkedIn. Suze, I love it. Suze already added me on LinkedIn, so there you go. I think she did she? Suze, I think you added me. Yes, you did. You're awesome. And we'll go ahead and leave. I love this. Everybody, this is a great networking session. And don't worry, I will go ahead and refer back to those questions that we had. Don't want you to think that we've lost those questions.
One other thing I see in here that it looks like most people have is a personalized URL. I definitely recommend that if you don't have one, is to go in
and make their
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Cami. Well, it looks like we did make some connections, so everybody can add each other and use the branding primer that I sent out as just a way to get you started, and use that Word document link that I sent out in the chat, and then you can use that to just copy paste and just edit your name, the person's name that you want to add and then your name at the end, and you can get some connections and you'll remember how you met that person when you refer back. So let's go ahead and just future events, just to kind of wrap things up and go into Q&A. For future events, we're now doing everything virtually. All in-person meetings have been canceled because of COVID, but we are hosting meetups all over the world. So you can go ahead and go to womenwhocode.com/events, and you can literally see events from all over the world. And I know that some of you guys were able to find us through this event tab. And how to get involved, especially now. I think a lot of people are like, okay, I want to get involved now that I have more time in my hands. You can still get involved through some of the ways that we've chatted tonight, through some of the ways that Cami and Beth have mentioned. They've given us great tips on how to get involved and how to maximize your profile. And a great way is to lead. If you have an event that you want to lead, or if you feel like you're too junior, we encourage people who are juniors to take lead on an event, and we will support you. I came up with this theme tonight based on some of the demand that we had from our last meetup, and Melissa and VG and Michelle backed me up, and they were happy to help me out. So you'll always feel supported in this community. So yeah, find us in your local community and stay connected through Meetup, Twitter, Slack. We do have a Slack, so please join us there. We do have a job board on Women Who Code, so you can find us there. And this is the information to contact Cami and Beth. I definitely recommend contacting them through email because they're very busy ladies. And like I said, they will give you a quick gut check on your maybe LinkedIn. If you want to just send them your LinkedIn link, that might be easier for them. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into Q&A. And first, I wanted to say thank you everybody for joining us. I know we had a little bit of trouble, but I think we got through it. So, all right, Q&A time. Everybody can go to the same link and you can post your questions. I will go ahead and get some of the questions, the Q&A started with some of the questions that we were able to see in the chat earlier. And this is some of the stuff.
Through our tests.
I know. All right. So I'm going to clear and you guys are hopefully ready to go.
Do you want to answer a question that was in the chat earlier that wasn't addressed while we wait?
Yeah, go for it. Let's do it.
So Kat asked if it would be appropriate to reach out to a recruiter for a company to ask if a role that you saw posted was open to remote candidates. People do that all the time, and I think most recruiters would be totally fine with that. So I know with Authentic specifically, we have people all over the place. So if we find the right person with the right background, a lot of times we're open to them sitting wherever, especially with the current state of things. I think we are all online now, we're all digital and all remote. So if it's a smaller company, they most likely are open to that, but you never know until you ask. So I don't think any recruiter would ever be offended by that.
Yeah, and so especially, it depends too on like what type of job you're looking for. If you're open to contracting, I mean, I think Capital One just announced they're remote through the end of the year. So if you were going to take a 6-month contract there, you could not live in Richmond, but work for out of the West Creek office. I mean, people aren't going to be on site, so that really changes your ability to work for a different brand or company in the short term.
Yeah, for bigger companies, they may be open to you working from a different location, like Cami said.
Is anybody able to add their questions on here? There we go. What is one LinkedIn mistake you see a lot but hasn't already been covered? This is a great question. I don't even think we got to this one. I love it.
Let's see. I would say I am a personal stickler for spelling and grammar. So I think it's in my blood. My sister's an English teacher and it comes naturally to all of us. So I would say always proofread and always go back over things. Maybe have a friend or a coworker edit it for you, because there could be things that you just missed your first time around. So having somebody else look at it might be helpful as well. And that can go for how you worded something or grammatical mistakes, like we said. So I would say that's the biggest thing that stands out to me.
Yeah. The new one, switching careers with no experience. I would utilize any sort of personal project. So if you're trying to get into development and you went through a general assembly course or a boot camp, put that certification up, put that under your education. People do specifically search for grads out of boot camp. So I would definitely include that there. And then in the same way you want to build your brand on LinkedIn, put it on, get on GitHub, like build your repository, show that you're active in that community, be on Stack Overflow. You're going to really that will help a lot with showing you have the background, and then also the desire to like work harder, even though you're not in that current field yet. It shows your exposure to it and your drive.
I agree. Asha, can you please add your question to the job board? I mean, not the job board, sorry, the question on Polev.
Employment gaps. I think that's a hit or miss thing. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do that. I've definitely seen people that have gone on like sabbatical for 6 months, or went on maternity leave for an extended period of time, that have put that there to cover the gap, which is great. It adds some context to it, but it's definitely not necessary. So I wouldn't feel pressured to do so.
Yeah, I agree. And I did get a question on that is not on here is, I have over X, Y, and Z connections. However, I have not kept in touch with them. How do I engage with them now at a personal level? Well, I think a great way to engage with people at a personal level is to send out that note. So that example of that note that I posted on here for the Word document, I would just say, hey, if I'm messaging Cami after not talking to her for 2 years, not that I'm mad at Cami, it's just our lives perhaps have gone in different ways, but we're still friends, except we haven't connected. I'll just reach out to her and say, hey, Cami, I know it's been a while that we haven't connected, but I would really appreciate to just catch up and see what you're up to. Do you have 15, 20 minutes of your time to have a Zoom chat? Or I always recommend like walking outside and have a chat over the phone, because I think people are kind of tired of Zoom. So that's one idea to keep in check with those connections, or just delete the ones that you feel no longer serve you. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. So hopefully that answered some of those questions there.
Yeah, another good way to do that would be to go and view people's activities. So if people are sharing things about work histories or sharing posts or articles that they've published, engaging by commenting on that, saying like, great job, glad to see you're doing well, would love to catch up. That shows that you're just keeping an eye on what they're doing.
And that way you have something to talk to them about too. So
yeah, icebreaker.
Of course. I believe I need to add, if nobody has added me on LinkedIn, I will go ahead and post my full name so you can add me on LinkedIn. If you ever need help, I'm happy to help. Well, with that said, it is 7:18 and a lot of you have lingered in this call. If you have any questions, please post them here or post them in the Zoom group chat for everyone. If you're having trouble posting your question on the Polev, that's fine. We'll just answer any final lingering questions you may have before we end this call, this virtual workshop. Oh, it's 20 past midnight. All right, Suze.
Happy tomorrow, Suze.
So happy to have you. Take care. We really appreciate you having and joining us. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Irina. Any last questions that you would like to ask, go ahead and post them. And we will go ahead and go back to the slide real quick so you guys can look at Cami, and you can see here. But please email first and do LinkedIn. I recommend that, not perhaps doing cell first. I know some of you are international and we want to obviously make sure we don't wake anybody up at the wrong time. So definitely I recommend doing LinkedIn and email. And if you just want a quick gut check, they're happy to give you some quick feedback. And any last questions? The 6-second gut check, yes, Suze.
Or 20.
Or 20, because not all recruiters have a bad rep, and they're not. I have worked with these two ladies and they're wonderful. So, all right, well, I think we are good. I will stop sharing and everybody can just add what you need to add on the chat, and I think we're gonna go ahead and end this call. Melissa, I think, or VG, I think you have to end this. Nicole, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Kat, Barbara, Tracy. Glad you enjoyed this information. Are you guys, if you can comment, would you like to see another one of these again? And if so, we can have one in another 2 months. And only if Cami and Beth are up for it, because they made a huge effort to give their time tonight. Seems like everybody loved it. All right, well, we'll go ahead and end this call. Seems like we don't have any more questions.
Thanks for organizing all this, Sarah.
Cami, Beth, you guys are the best. I love you, you're the best. Thank you guys, everybody, for coming. And VG, you can go ahead and end the call.